Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this astral plane. This is another exciting episode of Ancient Mysteries Unearthed, featuring myself, Brandon James Sim, your co-host, and your fearless leader, Chris Noble. Today, we are diving into the subcontinent. We are going right over those Himalayas, right into the beautiful, beautiful area known as India, shrouded in mystery and steeped in ancient lore and anomalies. Chris, what do we got going on today?
Thank you, Brandon. Welcome everyone to this show. And today, we've got a really fun, anomalous temple here in India. It's also part of a really fascinating cave structure, but that's a whole other episode in and of itself. I really want to focus today on this one temple structure, the Kailasa Temple in India, and it is just absolutely mind-blowing. We're going to get into the details in a second, but one of the biggest things about this temple is that it's a huge temple complex, all carved out of one piece of rock. So once again, we're talking about construction from ancient times that makes no sense. We wouldn't do it today. We probably couldn't do it today, especially to the precision that they did, which we'll see in a second. And once again, why do you build things so challenging? Why do you build things so difficult if you can't just do it well? Because if we're looking into the past and assuming that everyone was primitive, didn't have the technology we have now, they couldn't have built it. So we'll get into these details, and it's absolutely astounding. Not just the temple itself, but then you zoom in and there's all these intricate carvings that once again make no sense when it's built out of basalt, one of the hardest rocks on this planet, volcanic rock. And so it's pretty cool. So we'll start. We'll bring you into the mainstream perspective of what this temple is. And then I've got some fun videos as well that show the alternative side of what we might think this temple means, functions as, and who it may have been built by. So I'm going to start here with just the basic good old Wikipedia breakdown of the Kailasa Temple, or the Kailasa Temple in the Elora area. This is a place I really want to go to visit in India because there's so many cool complexes here. But I think this one really sticks out. So the Kailasa Temple is the largest rock-cut Hindu temple at the Elora Caves Complex. And basically, it's a megalith carved from a cliff face. Like I said, it's carved into the cliff. You can see this temple of the image of the temple down here. We're going to show you a lot more examples of this in a second. But just see that this was clearly one big piece of rock, like all indigenous land.
They just scooped it out. No big deal.
Right? And take a look at this. So we're going to get into the construction theories, even from Wikipedia, from the mainstream perspective in a second, and those are still even mind-boggling. So it's considered one of the most remarkable cave temples in the world because of its size, its architecture, and the sculptural treatment, which once again, we will show you some details of the incredible sculptures in this complex. It has been called the climax of the rock cut phase of Indian architecture. The top of the structure over the sanctuary is 32.6 meters, which is 107 feet above the level of the court below. So it's pretty tall. And although the rock face slopes downward from the rear of the temple to the front, archaeologists believed it was sculpted from a single rock. Okay? Just keep that in mind as we get into this more.
Doesn't leave a lot of room for error.
It leaves zero room for error, much like with the Great Pyramid. We got laser cut precision and the way that pyramid is built, it's 8-sided, it's not even 4-sided, which again makes you have to be so accurate with your construction. So, it's one of these temples that probably was also used by different religious cultures and people throughout its history, the Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain cultures, and people that studied these religions would go to these monasteries in the Elora Caves and this structure here. So once again, it was probably a place that got repurposed a lot. But I'm gonna go down here. Even on the right hand side, you can see the ground plan of the temple. This is not a hodgepodge construction. This is very accurate. It's quite symmetrical. It's, it really requires machine tooling at the very least. But let's look into the construction method for a second. This is also, again, according to the mainstream perspective here. The Kailasa Temple is notable for its vertical excavation. Carvers started at the top of the original rock and excavated downward The traditional methods were rigidly followed by the master architects, which could not have been achieved by excavating from the front. So there is a legend that appears to refer to the construction of this temple, which we really have no idea how it was built, but there is a legend that speaks to potentially how it was built. The earliest text to mention this legend is in the Katha Kalapartoru, and roughly around from 1470 to 1535. And according to this legend, the local king suffered from a severe disease. Now, his queen prayed to the god Grishneshwar, also known as Shiva, at Elapura to cure her husband. So she vowed to construct a temple if her wish was granted, and promised to observe a fast until she could see the Shikhara, the top of the temple. After the king was cured, she then requested him to build a temple immediately, but multiple architects declared that it would take months to build a temple complete like the one we're seeing right now, which is insane. But one architect named Kokasa assured the king that the queen would be able to see the Shikhara of the temple within a week's time, the top of the temple within a week's time. So he started building from the temple from the top by carving a rock. He was able to finish this whole temple within a week's time, according to this legend, so the queen could give up her fast and go about their lives. So essentially, just coming back to this for a moment, this means that, according to this legend, once again, it was built from the top down, which is far more complex. And we're going to show you some images now where we're just going to look at some like basic Google images of this temple to start things off, just to show you guys the unbelievable intricacy. I'm just going to zoom in here. This is just one angle, kind of a front angle of the temple. Look at the size of the people. And remember, one piece of rock. We've got bridges. We've got buildings. We've got windows. We've got, look at the carvings. There's carvings all over them. The buildings, very, very intricate. According to this legend, that took a week. Are you kidding me? We're going to get some fantastic aerial views in a second. I got to Google Maps, but just once again, we're talking 107 feet tall here.
Well, even if it was just a week to see the top of it, it's like, how do you do that? A week? Are you kidding me? I'd have a hard time building a porch in a week.
Right? Like look at this, like this image here, right? You can see the bedrock, like the actual rock that clearly, like this was a rock side, part of a mountain or a hill region here. And then just, just like laser 3D printed into the ground, which is what it looks like to me. And maybe that was probably the technology or something like that being used. Here's another great image. This is on the bottom of the temple. Look at these elephant carvings. Once again, all one piece of rock. Look at these people. They're tiny. They're tiny. Okay. So have some fun on Google. Just look at these incredible images. Once again, look at the bridges. You have all one piece of rock. You can't screw up the planning of this. Like, you have to have absolute precision. Now we're going to go over to a Google map image, which is also really interesting. We're going to watch some videos, one from Praveen Mohan, who's one of the best alternative history researchers for India. And the top of this temple, if you can see here, Brandon, got almost like an X shape and a circle.
Yeah, like an altar almost.
Like an altar, or, as Praveen likes to say, he thinks it's a landing pad for craft or something. You never know.
I mean, look, the Veda texts, they sound like a sci-fi novel when you read them. Vimanas, flying machines.
Yeah, exactly.
Galactic wars, shooting lightning bolts at each other. It's the gods of polytheism do sound a bit like the Avengers movies sometimes.
It's so true. Like, why do we love the Marvel and Avenger movies, right? It's because some pretty unbelievable supernatural things have happened in our history and still happen, I'm sure, every day that we just don't know about. And
the other thing too is like looking at these structures and thinking about, those old pictures of like the airships and how they used to dock on top of the spires and stuff. That could be what that is. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility to think that, a flying machine like a Vimana wouldn't necessarily need to land, but might hover.
Exactly.
Oh, actually, now that you zoom in, it looks exactly like a landing pad.
Right.
Enough to hold up the ship and everything. Oh,
Yeah, so this is why it's hard not to go down the ancient aliens hypothesis. Now,
well, I mean, it's just to carve that out of rock, to put that into perspective. Like whenever you see the word medieval, we often think of like, dark times. And I know the rest of the world wasn't necessarily shrouded in chaos like Europe was, but some great architecture came out of these dark times. They had no universities. They were all apprentices and things like that. So it doesn't fit with the tools and the knowledge of the time. Like, look at that.
like, come on, guys, this is not basic construction. This is just when you go inside now. Like we were just looking at the exterior.
That rivals any cathedral in Europe,
Yeah,
but it's one piece of stone.
and it's basalt stone, guys. Like this is volcanic rock. You know,
Like you don't think they'd screw up one of those arches? Like you don't think they'd screw up one of them?
right? Like they're just like, guys, like come on, look at the stuff. Look at
Man, oh
like,
man.
and it's
This is
just
the thing too. Like how many you throw a stone on the earth and you friggin' find an anomaly like this where it's like, oh yeah, well we don't know how it happened, but don't worry about that.
just pay attention to all the chaos happening right now and all the war and all the craziness.
Yeah, of
Don't think about
course.
that. Just don't.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
exactly.
Like once again, I love when there's people in the shot because you just get this colossal sense of the construction here. Like these are not pieced together rocks. I mean, the Great Pyramid of Giza is pieced together rocks, and that
Right.
is mind blowing construction. But that's pieced together massive blocks. This is not. This is all carved out of the stone in the rock itself. That's that's native
So
to
to
that
our,
area.
our listening and viewing audience too, if you haven't checked out our latest episode coming from China, there's a very, very similar style construction, which is once
Yes.
again one piece of rock. Look at those griffins, gargoyles, lions. Oh my God, they look like lions.
So
One piece of rock. That's the
right,
landing pad.
that's the landing pad, right? We go over
So
here.
it's
That
four beautifully carved lions with a stone in the middle, it's some sort of altar, and it's just why would you choose to make them lions with muscles and claws and manes if it's one piece of rock? I mean, you know, the greats, the Michelangelos, the Leonardos who carved out of stone. We look at that, we're like, here's their one stone. You see a bunch of them that are incomplete, broken, and they're still in the museums. This is just, it's there. You didn't get that chance unless they were melting the stone back, which, maybe is beyond our comprehension too. But if this is truly one piece of rock, that is insane.
I know.
Now they got a god covering her breasts with elephants all around her with more goddesses beside them. Like,
And this is
and,
just one of the thousand. Like, check this out here. Like, this is just these are more relief
oh my
carvings.
God. Okay. So just 1,000 carvings
Like
in there.
this is a typical one tiny little wall in this huge complex.
A
Like
lot of
this
cone
took a
heads.
week. According, I know it's a legend, everyone. I understand, but I also think if we're dealing with advanced technology and we're dealing with ancient peoples, perhaps human, perhaps not, that have
There's
unbelievable technology, this is how you would probably complete something so freaking intricate, right?
I just want to say, it looks like I'm seeing a dragon. I'm seeing, seems to be some sort of like monster headed person with a bow. A lot of cone shaped heads. What else?
This is
do
true,
I
actually.
see?
Look at these.
Yeah, look. Who's this guy? Who's the guy 3 rows up there with the, it looks like he's got a bird head and then there's a
Yep.
chariot at the very top. What
Yeah,
is that thing in front of that chariot looking thing? What is that? What is
yeah,
that? Looks like a dragon.
yeah. So
Oh
for
my
our
goodness.
listening audience, we're just kind of having a field day here on these images of the details of the carvings within this temple. So look, I
Wow.
mean, we're just having a field day right now, looking at the exterior of this thing. But let's take a listen and a watch to Praveen Mohan, who's done amazing research, specifically in his country of India. But this guy, does a lot of stuff. Now, Praveen's a big ancient aliens guy, but even he, at this point, does admit that this could be us as well, humans, just from an advanced culture with advanced technology that we forgot about, right? I mean,
Well, like let's not forget we have the Atlantean, the Mu, these lores of these high tech, crystal using alchemy, wielding civilizations that were global civilizations. So, you know, call it what you will. The inner earth talks about people who are way more advanced, all these myths and lores. When we go further back, we seem to have some sort of boost in tech that is different than like the iPhone
Uh-huh.
generation that we're in today. So, and you know what? Ancient aliens, if you hate that theory, you gotta admit it's damn entertaining. So
Oh,
let's take a watch.
yeah, 100%.
Hey guys, this is the world famous Kailasa Temple at Elora, and let's look objectively into who could have built this amazing structure. By the end of this video, I hope you will agree with me that our history is completely wrong and that this temple was built by a very advanced civilization. What's so special about this temple? This temple was not constructed by adding stone blocks, but an entire mountain was carved to create this temple. This is the only temple in the whole world where a mountain was cut out from the top to create a structure. In all other temples and caves, even in Elora and rest of the world, the rock was cut from the front and carved as they went along. The whole world has followed a rock cutting technique called cut-in monolith, while Kailasa Temple is the only one that has used the exact opposite technique called cut-out monolith. To see why this rock cutting technique is so different, let's take a look at this pillar that's over 100 feet tall. Notice how small human beings look when compared to this pillar. Normally, to create such a huge pillar, it would take years of work carving accurately on a huge rock. But this pillar was carved by scooping out all the pieces of mountain around it. You can imagine the amount of rock which has been removed to create this pillar. Historians and archaeologists are confused because of the sheer amount of rock that was removed in this temple. Archaeologists confirm that over 400,000 tons of rock had to be scooped out, which would have taken not years but centuries of human labor. Historians have no record of such a monstrous task, and they think that this temple was built in less than 18 years. Let's do a simple math and see if historians could be right. I'm going to assume that people worked every day for 18 years and for 12 hours straight with no breaks at all. I'm going to ignore rainy days, festivals, wartime, and assume that people work like robots ceaselessly. I'm also going to ignore the time taken to create intricate carvings and complex engineering design and planning and just focus on the removal of rock. If 400,000 tons of rock were removed in 18 years, 22,000 tons of rock had to be removed every year. This means that 60 tons of rock was removed every day, which gives us 5 tons of rock removed every hour. I think we can all agree that it's not even possible today to remove 5 tons of rock from a mountain every hour. Not even with the so-called advanced machines we have. So if it's not humanly possible, was it done by humans at all? Was this created with the help of extraterrestrial intelligence? Now, forget about creating such an extraordinary structure. Can human beings at least destroy this temple? In fact, Aurangzeb, a Muslim king, employed 1,000 workers to completely demolish this temple. In 1682, he ordered that the temple be destroyed so that there would be no trace of it. Records show that 1,000 people worked for 3 years and they could only do a very minimal damage. They could break and disfigure a few statues here and there, but they realized it's just not possible to completely destroy this temple. Aurangzeb finally gave up on this impossible task. Note that this attempted destruction is very similar to another mysterious structure called the Menkaures Pyramid in Egypt. Another Muslim ruler wanted all the pyramids to be destroyed and started his work from the Menkaures Pyramid. After years of trying, he was only able to make a small dent on the pyramid. He gave up too. Were all these indestructible structures around the world created by extraterrestrials? Is that why human beings are not even able to destroy them? In fact,
I got to step in for a moment here because
Yeah.
there's so much to say. So, I live in Vancouver, Canada. Brandon's in Toronto, Canada, and we got lots of condo builds. It's a big thing, right? And a lot of cities around the world, that's a thing for a lot of us. Condos are always going up. I find, at least here in Canada, cheaply built for the most part, not great construction, and these things are falling apart within a couple of years of already living in them. This temple has not only lasted thousands of years, but when throughout history, clearly, there's kings who have tons of resources of the time and all the technology they could ever want of that time to go and just totally destroy this temple for whatever reasons they had. They can't even make a dent. Whereas if this, let's say the same king and his thousands of workers wanted to come and destroy one of our condos, I feel like you'd have a better chance.
Nice.
Right?
Fly a plane into it. It'll go down.
Right? Yeah.
Like, just plant some dynamite at the base. It's going to go down.
Easy.
The Gardner Expressway, just 60 years and rain is causing it to fall down. So, well, you know what? Even those Roman roads, I always say those Roman roads are still trucking along in Europe, and those are child's play compared to this stuff. So, because we can actually comprehend how they built those, but they got through mountains and hills and over great distances of water through great engineering. But you look at this stuff, and it's true. Just all these big monolithic structures. Man, it pisses me off that people come around and like, we got to destroy that. Like Napoleon shooting the Sphinx and these rulers being like, destroy them. We're going to have any evidence of this stuff. Well, why were they so threatened by these temples? Is it because they inspired the people too much? Which is also, what you hear about a lot of the architecture today is it's not inspiring. We have no inspiration. It's like, yes, bare walls with pipes. That will make you happy. We wouldn't want to have, carvings and beautiful designs and color. We'll make it all gray.
Yeah. I mean, and we're not even talking about the energetics and how the ancients clearly knew about earth energy and how to make
lining it up with the stars.
Yeah. Like there's all these other multi-dimensional aspects of construction that we don't think about at all now. And then they thought a lot about and had a full understanding we don't have today.
Well, just look at like water spouts today, compared to what water spouts looked like before. And looking at these giant temples, once again, the one thing I hear, okay, so I liked his math when he was talking about like 18 years. 18 years is a long time, considering that a lot of rulers probably came into, and I know there's some young rulers coming in, but if I was to start ruling today in 18 years, I'll be a senior citizen basically. So, not to mention that maybe dead, wars. It's a lot of effort to keep these construction projects in the go. So that alone is pretty, when you hear about how long it took them, it's kind of, especially when we don't have that written record. Yeah. And without a true primary document, we are just hypothesizing. So it's very interesting to think about the amount of time.
I love that, Brandon, because this is why I also really enjoy Praveen Mohan's channel and everyone else. Like it'll be in the show notes, everybody. So of course, like always, we have all the references for the show in the description. Check it out for yourself. Praveen Mohan, he's been featured on Ancient Aliens before. He's quite, he's got a very popular channel. But what I really like, one of the things he does a lot, specifically in India and Sri Lanka, where he does a lot of his research, because he speaks the language, he speaks English. I don't know his full story. I think he also lives in the US, but when he goes to India and Sri Lanka, he speaks to locals all the time and gets their oral history. And I know it's not the written document that we're looking for a lot of this stuff. But the oral traditions are really important to listen to. And when they give information on different places and different temples and stuff, I always find it fascinating because they'll say crazy things. Like, I remember watching some video. I don't think it's going to be in this show today, but from what I remember, there was a urban legend or a folklore around the Kailasa Temple that we're looking at today and in its construction. And this story from one of the locals, they were saying how, yeah, it was built within a week, or actually their story said that it was built overnight. One night, the whole thing was built by one of the gods, one of these other beings, not human. And apparently the god came down in their ship, 3D printed, essentially laser cut down. Like they said, the construction was from the top down, which is very rare. It's the only thing in the world that is constructed that way. And then the oral history was talking about how this god in his ship built it by essentially like laser cutting through the rock, almost like he's got the CAD architectural file, like the CAD file in the ship, and the ship 3D prints with the lasers into the rock, and then boom, the next morning you got this temple. Is that true? Of course, I have no idea, but these are the kind of cool, interesting bits of information from locals that at least can get the gears going, and then maybe we find physical evidence to support that theory later on.
Well, it's just whatever the story is, it's going to be amazing, because if it was a 300-year project that a dynasty was able to, choreograph, that's still amazing.
Yep.
If it popped out of nowhere, that's very amazing. Either way, I would say that it doesn't match up with what the tech was at the time.
Yeah.
That's just, whenever I see these ancient stone structures, if working with stone was so important to our history and to our species, why did we lose it?
Exactly.
And why is it that today, when we apparently have all this capability and all this knowledge, and we really like to pump our tires and be like, we are at the pinnacle of civilization. If we are, then how come we don't build with this? And if we're so worried about saving the earth, then how come we don't build with more stone? I mean, it lasts forever, apparently. Whereas, like you said, these condo buildings, the glass starts to pop out and fall. One bad winter time, and then all these glass condos, they need to be replaced. Balconies are falling down everywhere. It's insane. I feel like we're the piggies building out of straw.
Something's gone differently in our trajectory, right, that makes no sense, because when we look back, you're right, there's just too many anomalies. Like, let's keep watching here, because then Praveen's going to give us the aerial perspective, and then we've got one more quick video here that is just going to expand on this amazing temple complex. It's just so many anomalies, so many questions.
Archaeologists agree that Kailasa Temple was created before any other temple in the Elora Cave Complex. Could this have been built centuries before human beings started carving other temples nearby? Is this why the architecture, the design, and the size is so much better and bigger than other temples? If it was built by humans, it's logical to expect that the rock-cutting techniques and design would become better over time. People would gain more experience and knowledge and make better structures in the future. However, the Kailasa Temple is the oldest and the biggest temple carved with engineering perfection. Unlike other temples, the Kailasa is the only temple that's visible from the air. Out of 34 temples, all carved side by side, Kailasa Temple stands out, and you can see it while flying over it. Is this just a coincidence? Or was it designed for people to see it from the air, like Nazca Lines of Peru? Even on Google Earth, the aerial view of Kailasa Temple clearly shows an X mark. This is how it looks from the top, and you can see a circular design that is studded with 4 lions that create this huge X mark. Was this created as a signal for extraterrestrials who can spot the location while flying? Unlike other temples of Elora, notice how well its rectangular design is oriented with all the four directions. Its entrance faces perfectly to the west. Is this another coincidence too? Unlike most other temples of Elora, this temple has bridges that connect towers, rainwater harvesting systems, drainage systems, hidden underground passages, secret peepholes that can show people walking in, elaborate balconies in different areas, and complex stairways that connect multiple levels. And all of this had to be planned accurately before they started carving the mountain. For example, you cannot carve these two structures separately and then decide to build a bridge later. No connecting rocks or external rocks were used at all, and everything was carved perfectly from one mountain. Do you still believe that this was done with chisels, hammers, and pickaxes by people with limited mathematical and architectural knowledge? I hope we can all agree that the Kailasa Temple was built by a much advanced civilization, whether it originated in Earth or elsewhere.
So that's Praveen Mohan's, perspective on that. And I wanted to do one more quick video on from Mystery History Channel, which we featured in our last episode as well. And they make a really interesting connection in this video with the Kailasa Temple, or there's other names for it, like the Kailash Temple. It's the same place, but just different names for it. And there's also a mountain by the same name, not too far away in Tibet. And there's some very fascinating connections, potential connections with this mountain and the temple complex we've been looking at this whole episode, the Kailasa Temple. So we're going to take a quick look at that to give you a final perspective on today's pretty mind-blowing episode on more anomalies from our past.
No shortage of them.
There's no shortage.
A few months ago, we did a video regarding an enigmatic mountain which rests within modern-day Tibet. We touched upon the amazing legends, speaking of the mountain actually being that of an ancient man-made pyramid, which, according to such legends, is placed at the center of the universe. They spoke of a mysterious giant eye placed upon the top of the mountain, an eye which, according to said legends, will reveal itself when the ice and snow within the area melts away. Akin to a story containing the Eye of Mordor, yet hopefully not as malevolent. Although Mount Kailash can be found within modern-day Tibet, its location is very close to the borders of India, a place which few know possesses one of, if not the most amazing ancient structure to have ever been discovered or indeed built upon our planet. A structure which dwarfs the Great Pyramids, and indeed the Great Sphinx with artistic wonder. Actually known as the Kailash Temple, it is an exquisitely cut series of supposed praying temples and other communal buildings which was, many thousands of years ago, carved straight out of an enormous horseshoe-shaped rock resting within a hillside. According to mainstream academia, Kailash Temple was somehow built by a primitive people using primitive tools during a duration of 400 years, from 200 BC to 600 BC. However, no one seems to be able to explain how such a primitive culture could have possibly created something so awe-inspiring, something so artistically accurate and wonderful, something we would indeed struggle to recreate today. A structure not only architecturally accurate, but also drenched in a masterpiece of sculpture. Largely accepted as a flawless piece of art, no less than 200,000 tons of stone was masterfully carved away, creating several separate temples, each drenched in tiny artistic detail. Rediscovered in 1819, is it possible that the Hindu decorations found within were merely later additions? Additions to a relic left actually built by a civilization far more advanced and far more ancient than we are allowed to publicly believe? It is understandable for one to wonder, how did a primitive civilization create such a wonder with primitive tools, attaining such a perfection, such refined finish to each tiny detail? It is conveniently unexplained just how they managed to cut into this single block of rock with such precision and indeed vision, adorning the structure with thousands of animals. It seems as if it were a tribute, a gift depicting what can be found on our planet. Is Mount Kailash, as legends say, really the center of the universe? Is this mind-bogglingly detailed, most intricately built ancient temple by a long way actually a tribute to this fact? Made up of temples which are all now perceived to be shared between three faiths, Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain. Are these multiple faiths further evidence of a re-inhabitation rather than a construction? The 200,000 tons of rock, for example, is nowhere to be found. And, as previously covered in the Kailash video, the same is seen with the apparent enormous excavation found around the base of Mount Kailash itself. Compelling evidence for manipulation of the landscape, giving credence to the legends of it being, in fact, an enormous pyramid. Regardless of this, the fact that the temple carries the same name as this mysterious and still unclimbed mountain within Tibet, we find highly compelling.
Yeah. So, there you go, folks.
Just had to drop that inner Earth map at the very end.
I know.
Unclimbed. That's interesting.
I know.
You'd think the Sherpas would be all over that.
You'd think, right?
I mean, yeah, that's interesting.
Well, you got to wonder with those things because there's a lot of mountains that have, there's a lot of weird mountains actually on this.
Well, and if they're surrounded by other mountains too, right? Like we
hard
think
to get
that
to.
we've explored everything, I know, and it's just like, it's very difficult to get over a mountain.
Yeah.
You got to be like hella dropped in, really. I mean, and even then it's like some pilots, I'm sure, like, that's so dangerous. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. And though, at the same time, nowadays, you'd wonder, especially if it's got this legend of being the center of the universe, that someone would figure out a way to just get helicoptered to the top of it or something, and maybe that's happened because, once again, we're not the only ones that think of these alternative things. Just because it's not in the mainstream doesn't mean that the powers that be are not looking into this, right?
I mean, the mainstream, man, it gets weirder and weirder. I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? It's just getting weirder and weirder. It's not even normal anymore. So everything's getting weird.
Which is great.
Which makes me just wonder more and more and more. Just like you guys. So, what a great episode, by the way. Loved it. Thanks for joining in and hopping along and coming along for the ride into the beautiful mountains of India with us and carving out what this mystery might be. No pun intended, except is entirely intended. And Chris, we got a comment for our viewers today.
Yes, we do, Brandon. Yes, we do.
Yeah, let's check it out. Boom, boom, boom. Our favorite point of the day is your comments and your interaction, because without you, we are absolutely nothing. So we just want to, let's go. Let's rock it out.
All right, we got William Bennett 7033. Thank you, William Bennett 7033, for your comment here. This was on our episode Titans, Mile High Giants, and Mud Fossils. This was from a little while back where we
know you love your Giants.
We know you love your Giants. Don't worry, we got some Giant stuff.
Yeah, we got to do a big podcast.
We do. We'll get another one for you, beautiful. I know it's Giants, Antarctica, and name a third, but those are definitely two big ones, Giants and Antarctica.
I should do a where you co-host me and we do a Bigfoot episode soon too.
All right.
So.
Yeah, that's going to have to happen. So William Bennett, 7033, he says, I believe 1,000% that they existed, being the Giants, or exist. I also believe that this world was way bigger than we are being told. Awesome. Yeah.
Bigger than we're told. That's like, the flat earthers, they believe there's the ice wall and that it keeps going out.
Yeah.
And that we're on this like weird plane of existence and that there's more lands beyond, which that is a really hard one for me to grasp, but it is so flippin' cool to look at those maps. So
I know.
I like that. And you know what? Giants, I mean, oh boy, you know what? I can really hop in and give an assist on some giants because I've read some interesting books that are just primary documents that are all about mounds and digging up giant skeletons. So, ladies and gents, we might have a couple treats for you coming in the future. William, thank you so much, brother. That was a great comment, and I'm glad you believe them. Many people do. It's in the Bible and steeped in a bunch of lore, and we all kind of know the fee, fi, fo, fummin of the world and its history. So, love that. And frankly, what do you think about this episode? Did you enjoy it? What are your thoughts on digging from the top down? Do you think that it could have taken 300 years of mass labor? Did it take a week? Did it take 18 years, like a lot of people suggest? Let's hear your thoughts. What do you think about this architecture? What does your heart tell you? What does your mind tell you? We want to know. So get engaged, give a like, share it around. We're over 1,000 subscribers now due to you beautiful people sharing this podcast and getting the word out. And we would like you to share it with people who you think have a brilliant explorative mind as well. So, Chris, any
Absolutely.
final thoughts?
Yeah, it's always a fun mystery, and every episode's a mystery, and it only really for me brings up more questions. But this one's great. India is a treasure trove. There's so many anomalies in India. Their Vedic texts specifically, they've got some of the oldest written history on the planet, and it's mixed with temples that have still lasted to this day. So if anyone's interested in this and you're looking for an expedition this year, India is one of my top recommendations for unbelievable mysteries of the ancient world. And the locals you might find in India, if you can find any that speak your native tongue, or if you're able to speak theirs, I would start asking them what their history and what their perspective on these ancient temples are, because I guarantee you it's going to be different than what our mainstream history is telling us.
And talk to their grandparents too, because much like us today, the kids are so influenced by, other things these days, and they're distracted, which, that's just a general observation of the world. But a lot of my buddies who are from India, whenever I bring up Vimanas, they're always like, yeah, my grandmother used to talk about that. So just as a hint from what I've experienced, try and talk to the elders, right? Because oftentimes they're the ones who are the keepers of the knowledge. So, and the food's great too. So enjoy that. I mean,
It's amazing.
Gotta love it.
Absolutely.
All right,
So
folks.
everyone, if we haven't suggested this yet, please, if you want to also become a member on our YouTube channel, if you're listening to this, you can check out our YouTube channel as well and sign up to be a member, because what you get is bonus content, which myself and Brandon are going to be filming very quickly after this episode for you if you want to subscribe and become a member and support the channel to create more content like this. But we'll leave it at that for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Brandon, for being my co-host as always, my brother, and I appreciate you.
And we'll see all the insiders in the super cool club afterwards.
All right, everyone. Much love, and we'll see you on the next episode of Ancient Mysteries Unearthed.
Ciao for now.